A Tale of Shadows, written by WriterMage. They won't let me leave. They won't let me be. It is for this reason that I have decided to end my life. I can no longer suffer their perpetual presence or torment. I invited them in, and they came in to stay. It began a few months ago, on a night not much unlike any other. I was relaxing in my living room with my only roommate, Mittens, my large white cat around the age of 10. She was laying on my lap while I was watching some reality television show available over broadcast. I was fixated on the television when suddenly I noticed that my cat was staring off over my right shoulder, watching something intently, but when I looked, there was nothing there. Nothing there except for the flicker of a shadow that vanished as I fixed my gaze in its direction. My cat watched as an invisible figure crossed the room and appeared to stop in the opposite corner of the room, under the end table next to the television. I watched intently, waiting for something to move, waiting to see what it was that my cat was looking at so intently. Nothing. I was uneasy and increasingly felt that eyes were upon me from the corners and throughout the darkness. My cat would follow these shadows that flickered from existence at the instant that I redirected my gaze. I eventually declared aloud, "Show yourself. You are welcome to stay here, but do not lurk out of sight. Make yourself known so that I can see." I realize now that this was my mistake. They do not need to do as you command, but an invitation into the house means that they do not need to hide. Immediately, two red eyes appeared under the end table, and the cold feeling of fear and dread filled the room. I was so frightened that I was unable to speak as the shadow darted out of the room into the darkness of the hall. I was unable to put myself back at ease and decided to leave the house for a few hours to go on a drive. I returned to the house 2 hours later, having convinced myself that the experience was more imagination than anything, and willing myself to go to bed, leaving the hallway light on for comfort. My dreams that night were unsettling and terrifying. I dreamt of death. I dreamt of my own death. In the living room, gun in hand. I dreamed of the death of my family, slow and horrific. I dreamed of the death of humanity, cruel and indiscriminate. I woke in a sweat, and upon waking, I saw two dim red eyes inches from mine. I was unable to move as we stared eye to eye until it relieved me of its icy gaze and retreated to the hall. I tried to push it from my mind for the next few weeks, but I was on edge anytime I was inside the house. I had to build the courage to ask this being what it wanted from me, why it wouldn't leave me alone. I was always being watched, waking up in a sweat to see the red eyes flickering away. I had to ask it questions, had to get it out of my home. 3 long weeks after establishing contact with this being, I had mustered the courage to ask it a few questions. I dimmed the lights in the room so that it would make itself known and present, locked the cat in the bedroom so that she would not panic or scare the being away, and made myself some warm tea to keep my own nerves at bay. I sat on the couch and once again uttered the instruction, "If you are here, please make yourself known." The shadow immediately shot from the corner of the room to just next to the television, in front of the couch where I was seated. I asked, "Why are you here? Why this house?" I had a feeling well up out of nowhere that I had invited it in and had given it free rein of my home. I also felt that it was here to bring me ruin and suffering. These feelings were also present with the fear and anxiety that had existed every night when I woke and during our first encounter in this exact location. Why won't you speak? I had another feeling well up, as though I had always known. The being is speaking to me. However, I am unable to hear it. The shadow can manipulate human emotions in an effective yet terrifying method of communicating. What do you want from me? I realized that it wanted me to die. It is a shadow creature, and it has an intense hatred for all living, soul-endowed beings. It sought the destruction of living beings, although its capabilities of affecting the physical world were limited. It hated me. It hated Mittens. It hated the world. I have given it a home, and it will not leave, as it has no reason to. It then flickered and appeared inches from my face with its eyes inches from mine once again. I remained frozen in fear, almost afraid to breathe. It stayed there for around an hour, subjecting me to visions of terror and torture, of death and destruction. Once it released its hold over me, I ran out of the house with Mittens and took off in the car. After about an hour of driving, I heard Mittens hiss and growl. A feeling rose up in me after speaking with the shadow creature. It decided to tether itself to me, as I had always invited into my life through engaging in communication. I glanced into the mirror to see two red eyes looking at me from the back seat, and after a moment, they were gone. I have been running from this creature for 3 weeks since that night, but it always finds me. It invites me every night, subjecting me to new and worse horrors than the night before, playing on every fear that I have. It lurks in my closet, under my bed, in the hall, anywhere it can find a shadow to bend into. I feel like I am starting to fall into insanity, which I know is what this creature wants. That is how I find myself back here, writing this letter. I returned to my living room, where it all began, to lure it back to this house where it can maybe be trapped. I locked the doors and windows, placed a bullet in the chamber. I would like to tell you that I am hesitant to end all of this, but even as I sit here with the weapon in my lap, the red eyes are watching me from the corner. If you happen to see one of these shadow people, please do not make my mistake. If you engage with them, the bond that they have with you is strengthened and they will feed off of you nightly. They love your fear. I hope that you do not mourn my death. Please know that I am in a better place. Any place is better than the hell I live. I love you all.